today the researchers don't focus on those areas, but we need to train them, we need to incentivize them, and we need to fund this. And this funding will happen basically from philanthropy or government. VCs will fund when it comes to TRL 7 or 8. So we have to figure out how to fund this. Again, this ecosystem is starting to grow. Philanthropic funding is coming in. Government funding, of course, is available. Overall, the amount of money that we spend in research in India has to go up, I believe, 3 to 4 times. Right now, it's about 0.7% of GDP. I would like to see it at least to go to 3% of GDP, 1.5% from government, and 1.5% from industry.
Hi, wherever you're watching us, I hope you're doing well. Welcome to Tech Conversations, where we bring you insights from tech entrepreneurs, CXOs, and investors. I'm Hari Arakli. This year, the Infosys Prize turns 15. Awarded by the Infosys Science Foundation, this prize has risen in stature over the years for putting a spotlight on the work of mid-career scientists who have then gone on to achieve so much more in STEM as well as the social sciences. Let me give you a few examples. Abhijit Banerjee and Esther D went on to win the Nobel Prize in 2019. Professors Manjul Bhargava and Akshay Venkatesh went on to win the Fields Medal. Raghuram Rajan became the 23rd governor of the Reserve Bank of India. Sanjay Subramaniam later won the Dan David Prize. Sunil Amrit won the MacArthur Genius Grant, and Ashok Sen won the Breakthrough Prize in Fundamental Physics. Rajesh Gokhale was appointed as the Secretary, Department of Biotechnology, Government of India. Gagandeep Kang became the first Indian woman to be named Fellow of the Royal Society in Britain. This year's winners of the Infosys Prize are, in Engineering and Computer Science, Sachidanand Tripathi, Professor, Sustainable Energy Engineering, IIT Kanpur, for the deployment of large-scale sensor-based air quality network and mobile laboratory for hyper-local measurements of pollution, data generation and analysis using artificial intelligence and machine learning for effective air quality management and citizens' awareness. In Humanities, Jannavi Palke, Founding Director, Science Gallery, Bengaluru, for her brilliant and granular insights into the individual, institutional and material histories of scientific research in modern India, including through her book, The Atomic State, and many insightful writings. In Life Sciences, Arun Kumar Shukla, Professor, Biological Sciences and Bioengineering at IIT Kanpur, for his outstanding and far-reaching contributions to the field of G-protein coupled receptor biology, which has opened up previously uncharted avenues for designing novel and effective therapeutics. In Mathematical Sciences, Bhargav Bhatt, Funholz Joint Professor at the Institute for Advanced Study and Princeton University, for his outstanding and fundamental contributions to arithmetic geometry and commutative algebra. In Physical Sciences, Mukund Tattai, Professor, Biochemistry and Biophysics and Bioinformatics, National Center for Biological Sciences, in recognition of his groundbreaking contributions to evolutionary cell biology, which is advancing our understanding of the physics of life. And in Social Sciences, Karuna Mantana, Professor, Political Science, Columbia University, for her groundbreaking research on the theory of imperial rule and the claim that this late imperial ideology became one of the important factors in the emergence of modern social theory, according to a press release by the Infosys Science Foundation. Ahead of the announcement, Kris Gopalakrishnan, co-founder of Infosys and president of the Infosys Science Foundation, sat down with Forbes India to talk about the prize, the work of the foundation, and why we need to urgently invest much more in R&D. Kris, welcome to this podcast and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Hari, for having me.
Yeah, and for me, it's a great opportunity because I'm seeing you in person after many years, in fact,
Yes.
having covered Infosys earlier on as well. Today we're meeting in the context of the 15th year of the Infosys Prize and the Infosys Science Foundation as well. So for our viewers and listeners, to get us started, can you tell us a bit about the foundation? What was the thinking behind establishing such an organization, and as well as the Infosys Prize? A little bit of a snapshot history and we'll go from there.
So 15 years back, we decided that Infosys will become active in promoting science in India, research in India, and recognize scientists who have done extraordinary work that has made an impact on the country. So we established first the Mathematics Prize. Then in the second year onwards, we expanded to include 5 prizes, and later on we added a 6th prize. So the second year, we added physical sciences, humanities and social sciences, uh, computer science and engineering, and life sciences along with mathematics. And later on, we looked at humanities separate from social sciences. So 6 prizes. Now, the objective is these people who are recognized will become icons, will become aspirations for people wanting to make a career in science, because we wanted the best of the students to make a career in science. And when they see how well these people have performed, the awards that they've got, hopefully there'll be more people wanting to take on a career in science. Yeah. We are also happy to say that many of our winners subsequently have gone on to win larger prizes like the Nobel Prize, the Fields Medal, and things like, which also reiterates our belief that the laureates will go on to do even bigger research in the future. The bottom line is, if India has to transform itself to become a developed economy, we believe that it will require our scientists to do world-class research, which in turn results in products and technologies that can be commercialized. Now, we don't have direct correlation with the products and technologies our research is created, but definitely if you do world-class research, there will be deep tech startups that emerge out of this.
Yeah. Can you briefly talk a little bit about how the winners are chosen? Do folks need to apply for this, or does the foundation does its own survey and a bit of research, or is it a combination of all of this?
It's a combination of all of this. Nominations are requested from prominent people in science, the prior winners, and we have an international panel of nominators. So they nominate the people. Then we go through those nominations and do a preliminary screening to ensure that these are valid nominations. We have an international jury. For each of the prizes, there is an international jury with a jury chair. And typically in the jury panel, we have people who have received Nobel Prizes or who've received significant prizes in their field. And hence, the jury is also very, very, very recognized and well recognized in their fields. So, by the reputation of the jury itself, the prize has risen in its stature. So they go through these, identify the winners, and the jury process is independent of the foundation and the trust, actually. They have the complete freedom and autonomy to choose the winner. They then send us the name of the winner, and then we announce it typically in November, and the prize award ceremony is in January.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit more about including the social sciences as well in this prize. And I think it's tremendous work being done by social scientists in terms of how we're changing, as a nation, as peoples. So it's fantastic that the foundations are recognizing that work. So maybe give us a bit of the thinking behind including the social sciences as well.
So we have to look at impact on society and how society needs to develop in a fair and equitable manner. And we believe that social sciences, history, economics, which comes under humanities and sciences side, all of these things are very important to look at how society develops. India is yet to develop, and we believe that it must develop in an equitable, sustainable, inclusive manner. And that's the reason for including social sciences, because social sciences studies how development happens, how people behave, how culture plays an important role, how the impact of sciences is done in an equitable and inclusive manner, because that's very important. See, for example, when vaccines were introduced in the US, the per dose cost was $30. When the India introduced its vaccine, it looked at affordability and introduced a vaccine at $3 per dose.
Yeah.
10 times less. So 1/10 the cost. So hence, social sciences plays an important role to look at how science can and technology can play a role in development in a fair and equitable manner.
And this year is the 15th year of the prize. And it's also a year in which we feel like we've largely kind of, at least if not completely put it behind us, we've come out of the COVID pandemic. And a year in which AI has become mainstream. It's in the hands of everyone in one way or the other. And we only see the impact of AI exponentially increasing in our lives. Do you want to give us any hints in terms of how the Science Foundation is looking at this and for future prizes and so on?
So clearly, AI is a horizontal technology that is going to play a role in every other sciences and every field of work. It has already impacted us through the mobile phones that we use, the chat interface that we have created. So using a browser, now every individual can access the power of generative AI. And I have even looked at students in schools, and majority of them I find use now a generative AI tool to do homework or to get more knowledge on their project, or even project writing and things like that. So it is a technology that has a wide impact on our lives, and of course it is going to impact our businesses also. But in the area of research also, AI is going to play an important role. So, for example, we are able to look at protein folding. We are able to look at the implications of a certain data that we have collected on a population study and things like that. So the impact of AI will be quite widespread actually, and we believe that just as the information technology played an important role in the last 50-60 years, now what we are seeing is an intelligence period, intelligence economy, and we will see this playing an important role over the next 30-40 years. I cannot now talk about our prices, but you will find that this has impact on research also. This is a tool that all researchers use today.
In the private sector, already even at the level of sort of general newspaper reports, we are recognizing that many more multinational companies are setting up what is now called the global capability centers in the industry. Basically, more sophisticated R&D coming to India, and companies recognizing that such work is possible to be done out of India. I would say that one of the important missing pieces right now is what the experts call translational research. A lot of good academic work might be done and connect to the industry. And of course, in specific efforts like maybe the Tech Park in IIT Madras or SAN in Bombay, things are changing a lot. Now hundreds of startups are being incubated. But can you talk to us a little bit about the big picture? What are some of our challenges in really fostering a deep sort of symbiotic relationship between our academic institutions of research and our private industry in technology?
So first of all, the global capability centers are R&D centers for multinational corporations, and Indian multinationals also are doing more and more R&D in-house. And I'm very happy of that phenomenon. In the case of multinationals, this R&D results in IP that is in the hands of the multinational corporations. We would like to see more and more of those in the hands of either Indian companies or IP owned by Indian shareholders. Today, that IP is owned by global shareholders, if I may say so. So, from a talent perspective, the world has recognized that India has as good a talent as any other place in the world. Since it's a very large country, we graduate more than 1.5 million STEM graduates every year. We become the source for STEM talent for the world. India becomes the global R&D location, and the number 2 or number 3 R&D location for many multinational corporations today is in India. Now, to the second part of your question, how do we increase the industry academia collaboration? And the third part will be the deep tech coming out of academic institutions to create startups. So in the second, we need to work on both sides. So from the industry side, we need to promote R&D outside their organization, working with academic institutions, etc. And the benefit they get is, one, they get a larger pool of people doing research at much cheaper cost, because students are typically much cheaper than their own employees or interns or anything like that. So you get R&D done at much cheaper cost, and you get a wider collaborative ecosystem which the academia brings if they are able to do work with academia and things like that. But they need to look at what is the outcome that they will get, because industry requires specific outcome, and that's why they can support translational research. From the academia side, typically what happens is they look at research as creating a publication, a research publication or a PhD. They don't look at doing, let's say, a mission mode program which results in a particular technology being developed which can be taken to industry. They don't look at multidisciplinary, multi-year research. So the research is research in small. It's not research at big research. So industry can't support such research, and if all that is going to be created is a report, then industry may not support it. So we need to get both sides talk together, both sides to look at mission mode programs, large programs, and I'm hopeful that more and more of that you will see in the future. Like, can we create a let's say 32-bit quantum computer as an academic research program, things like that, very specific outcomes with a timeline and things like that. The third part is, how does research then create startups and technologies that can be taken to market? There are some, as you rightly said, there are some examples happening in IIT Madras or IIT Bombay, etc. Here again, we need to create that ecosystem of academia, incubators, venture capitalists, mentors, and startups all coming together. We need to look at how we can take something which is TRL3, Technology Readiness Level 3, to 7, 8. That's called the Valley of Death. So we need to see how we can take from lab to market. Today, the researchers don't focus on those areas, but we need to train them, we need to incentivize them, and we need to fund these. And this funding will happen basically from philanthropy or government. VCs will fund when it comes to TRL 7 or 8. So we have to figure out how to fund this. Again, this ecosystem is starting to grow. Philanthropic funding is coming in. Government funding, of course, is available. Overall, the amount of money that we spend in research in India has to go up, I believe, 3 to 4 times. Right now, it's about 0.7% of GDP. I would like to see it at least to go to 3% of GDP, 1.5% from government, and 1.5% from industry. So significant increase in the spending on R&D. We are starting to realize the need for this, and we are seeing signs of one, mission mode programs, two, translational work, third, industry working with academic institutions. So if you go to IIT Madras, you will see a Bosch center. If you go to IISc, there is industry participation in the research that's happening now. So we are seeing this now starting to happen.
Do you see evidence that domestic investors such as yourself and in your network and your peers, people are looking at deep tech startups as something that they ought to invest in, even if at the current moment they may not necessarily represent an asset class, but they might get there with your encouragement?
See, out of about 100,000 startups that are recognized by DPIIT, only 3,500 are labeled as deep tech. So it's a very small percent, but it's a growing percentage. Now, deep tech startups require patient capital. Typically, if it's healthcare and things like that, it'll have to go through trials, so it will take much longer. And that's why I said patient capital. Even if it's a hardware startup or a, let's say, a robotics startup, etc., again, you have to go through approval process. It will take time to realize this. But we are seeing signs of this increasing, and support is coming from funds that are focused on deep tech, right? So their focus is deep tech, and such kind of funds are increasing now. Everybody recognizes, but we need to see some successes. Even when I look at my portfolio, Unifor came out of IIT Madras and has become a unicorn now. There are a couple of robotics startups which are now exporting to various parts of the world and things like that. They just told me they've shipped 100 robots to UK, and they have another order for about 200 startups to US. So we are seeing signs of deep tech startups that are coming out of India. I'm very happy that these successes will encourage more and more deep tech startups to emerge. Nirama is another one which got FDA approval for their diagnostic tool. Again, so we need examples of this.
Can you take us back a little bit and talk about what got you interested in backing scientific research with your wealth?
So as I stepped down from Infosys in 2014, I decided that I'm going to focus on two things. One is entrepreneurship and startups, and second is research. Of course, research results in startups and entrepreneurship, but I looked at it separately for a particular reason. Because I felt that, increasing the funding for research, doing world-class research, doing translational research will need a intervention at the academic institution side, and the startup and entrepreneurship, if you look at it separately, we have actually done very well in the last, let's say, 10 years, from 2013 to now, because we have become the third best location. The number of startups is 100,000 plus. Depending on when you look at it, we have unicorns coming out of India, third best ecosystem. So in the startup side, we have actually done well, and domestic capital is now coming into the startup ecosystem. The domestic capital is very, very important because that acts as a shield between what is happening in the global economy compared to what happens in the domestic economy. And I have found that domestic VCs support these startups much better because they understand the need of the market. On the research side, I felt that there is a culture change required. We have to look at mission mode programs. We have to look at increasing industry participation. We have to look at philanthropic funding. Now, each of this is a task. And how can I, encourage others to do this? By walking the talk. So I have to do it first, right? Before I can tell others to do it. And that's the reason why I decided to support basic research in India and support multi-year, multidisciplinary, guaranteed funding for long term. So each of my programs, one at IIT Madras and IISc, get 5 to 10 year guaranteed funding. The team sizes are 50 to 100, and they're doing long term basic research.
In your experience, say over the last decade especially, the new waves of startup entrepreneurship that's happening in India, do you think we're getting to a point where people are willing to fail and learn from it and be proud of their work rather than something to be ashamed of?
See, I believe this is a function of where we are in our development cycle. We are still a low income country. For every student, we have to look at where we are in the development cycle. India is still a low income country. For a student going for engineering or going for a college graduation means that they have to be the breadwinner for their family. They typically are the first generation that have got a college education. So earnings becomes very important. And typically that's why they go for a job in the IT industry or well-paying global jobs and things like that. Hence, failure is actually quite traumatic, not just to the individual, to the family also. So that's why I feel that because where we are in our development cycle, failure is not acceptable. Because it's just not that person failing, it's actually impacting their family also. And this is why you will find that, let's say if the entrepreneur is from upper middle class and things like that, their ability to take failures is even better, right? Because they have a family support system and things like that. I think this will change as India transforms itself to a middle income country. More risk will be taken. And this is also the reason why the first choice for any student is STEM rather than, soft sciences, if I may call, social sciences and things like that. So this transition is happening, but this is, I think, a process, and it's actually part of India becoming a developed economy. In a developed economy, people would be willing to take a lot more chances and accept failures because they can accept failure. So it's really not maybe a stigma, but it's a part of our development process and how the individual's life is changing because they've got a well-paying job and things like that.
Very nicely articulated, sir. And as we begin to wrap up, any last thoughts, points that you want to highlight?
See, from a talent perspective, from a capability perspective, I believe India is second to none. We have as good people as anywhere else in the world, and that's demonstrated by Indians holding top positions across the world, right? Second, India is a lower cost location and will continue to be a lower cost location for many years to come. Because we will transition to become a middle income country over the next 10 years, and we will probably move to a high income country over the next 30, 40 years when we become a $30 trillion economy or something like that. So we are a lower cost location. And that's why the globe is coming to India, talent and cost. Third, India can create a new model for the world because, if you look at UPI and things like that, right? Affordable innovation, which impacts 1.4 billion people in the world. So India creates products and technology that touches the lives of ordinary people, affordable innovation. And last but not the least, India is yet to develop. So we have an opportunity to leverage the latest in technology for the benefit of common people, right? So how vaccine was introduced to India, how UPI was introduced into India, how we can look at, for example, the transition to electric vehicles, right? We have the cheapest electric vehicle in the world, anywhere in the world. How telecom is actually connecting every citizen of the country to participate in the digital economy. We have the cheapest telecom infrastructure in the world. So we deploy technology, especially digital technology, to benefit ordinary people, benefit everyone. And that, I believe, is how we should look at India's role. And that is how we should look at innovation and research in the country. How innovation can benefit ordinary people. This is a great contribution that India can give, because there's 8 billion people in the world, right? I think out of that, 200 billion people are still, 2 billion people are still not connected to the internet, right? So the problems that we face in India is faced by a larger world also. And this is where India can actually be a solution for the entire world. And that's why I feel India's role is very important.
That's it for this conversation. You can find all our podcasts and videos on ForbesIndia.com and on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. I'm Hari Arakli. Thank you for watching.